We know who runs that household, don't we? Our second person is not here, and Teresa, you'll accept the award for her, I would assume? Third. Connie Perkins. When you look at credentials from the people I know, they're unbelievable, what she has done. She joined the NCBOA in the 80s. She officiated both girls and boys high school basketball at a time when women were not accepted on the boys' court. She also worked a CIF playoff game on the boys' side at the request of a coach. She officiated 7 CIF section finals, 2 regional finals, and 2 state finals. She also was the first female, again, to work in the playoffs on the boys' side for Ray Johnson and El Camino. She went on to work women's college basketball for 18 years, from 1991 to 2002. She officiated in so many conferences that it takes up half my page. Pacific Coast Conference, the Golden State Athletic Conference, the NAIA, the California Collegiate Conference, D1 conferences, West Coast Conference, Big Sky, Big West Conference, and the Western Athletic Conference. Her postseason credentials include the JC State Championship in 1996, 4 trips to the NCAA Division III Tournament, 2 in the Final Four, 3 trips in the Division II Tournament, 1 in the Elite 8, 2 trips into the NCAA Division I Tournament. She currently trains officials in Eastern Washington and is an observer for the PCC. Connie Perkins, not here, but well worthy of being an honorary member to the NCBOA. You want me to mail it to her?
Yeah. She's actually coming in June.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, who did someone talk to her? Did you talk to her, Teresa?
No, Ken did.
I've talked to her.
You did get to talk to her.
Yes, I've talked to her and exchanged emails with her a number of times. The next person that I would like to present is Charles Washington. I've always called him by Charles because he's been my superior, and I've always looked up to him for outstanding service to this association. He's officiated in our association for 16 years. Of that, 8 of them he served as either 5 years as the president, or 3 years as the president, 5 years as the vice president under Rusty Reiner, which is a really tough job. Which means he served half his officiating career here in North County as a member of the board. He gave of himself. He's officiated high school basketball. He's officiated FIFA out on base throughout most of the military camps that you could find. He did a regional semifinal for the state playoffs. Ultimately, his greatest accomplishments are as a board member. Online assigning. Frank, Bob, we all remember when we got little sheets. Carl had to fill out these sheets. We had to sign them, carbon copies, turn them in. He was involved with that change in that process. He streamlined the NCBOA bylaws and operating policies. He was a positive impact in the way he presented himself to everybody that saw him as the president, both within the association and outside the association. He was also involved with the CBOA in the NCBOA, or the NASO program coming together. He was on the executive committee at the state level to help organize that and get us all insurance and all those referee magazines as a joint program. Ultimately, when people talk and have worked with him and served with him, what he brought to the association was a pride of who we are. And without a doubt, he ran a tough ship as a board president. He was tough as the vice president. But ultimately, it was about making us better. And tonight we honor him for the service that he's provided for us as an honorary member. Thank you. Yes, sir.
What does the honorary member get?
The honorary member never has to pay dues. And is a figurehead for us to remember. Ultimately, this is about recognizing and remembering. Ultimately, I've seen him at games, him at games, him at games. I don't want to see him at games. Ultimately, the objective and hope is that we embrace our past and that we not forget it and that we integrate it into our future. That's my goal. That's what I would like to see. The next representative that was selected and so forth, voted to be an honorary member, is Frank Wilhelm, the old guy at the end of the table. He was a member for 20 years. He started in 1967. He served as vice president for 1 year, president for 1 year, and instructional chairman for 8 years, which is the longest any IC that we've had in the association. His instructional style was reflected in the next 4 instructional chairmen in the association. What I mean by that is they were mentored under Frank. He's, again, worked just about every game that you could work at the high school level. He had a passion for the game. He had a passion for the rules. You guys always say, Carl was grumpy. Wait till you meet the wrath of Frank. He was tough. He was an instructional chair that made you know the rules. I haven't told stories about any of them, but I will tell only part of one that I know about Frank, because I don't know the ending of the story. His standards were so high that after a CIF final, when a coach and their fans addressed him in the parking lot, he took them to court, because it has no place in high school basketball. And he stood up for a principle of sportsmanship. That's the kind of man he was. And that's how he treated every one of us that grew up under him. I was IC. I was instructed under Frank. I mirrored what he did because it had such an impact on me. He's state certified, worked college basketball. He and Dal, Carl, all about the same time. He also worked in that tournament we call now the Holiday Classic. I think he probably had the first 2 or 3 finals of what was called the Above the Rim tournament. And at that point, that was one of the biggest tournaments in the country. And it still is today. Ultimately, he held all officials to a higher standard. He expected what he expected of himself from every one of us. Through his actions, he's impacted 40 years of officials through the past instructional chairmen. Those that instructed after him, he impacted. So he has built and continued to build in the future. Tonight we honor Frank Wilhelm for his service and his commitment to the basketball in North County. Thank you. I didn't know that. Frank was the first NCBOA official that worked in the state finals. Ooh, I guess it's all about who you know. He knew Carl down to the end.